Good morning and a warm welcome to our webinar. I would like to take this time to welcome everyone who has joined this webinar. This is going to be a series of webinars that we will run to you, our clients, and sharing some information about some services, managed services that Procom Technologies is offering. Today, our webinar series is on a security operations center as a service, offering 24/7 managed threat detection and response. My name is Begite Mangala. I'm the CEO for Procom Technologies. I'd like to welcome all our clients from Botswana, from Zambia, from Zimbabwe, and South Africa. Thank you so much for making time. I believe this webinar is going to be very valuable for you. And so we can begin. Thank you so much for joining. As we have said today, we're going to be focusing on presenting to you about security solutions that Procom Technologies is offering, and the focus today being SOC as a service. However, cybersecurity is quite broad and a very dynamic technology for you, our clients. As Procom, our services cut across a number of requirements for any business, which is to identify, protect, detect, respond, and recover. So we offer a number of services. Just to confirm, can you hear me properly? So that I get some bit of feedback from you. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can.
Thank you. I can hear you. Yes.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Thank you so much. All right. So we offer solutions and services that help you protect your organization, starting from identifying a cyber security risk, protecting your organization, detecting any malicious activity, and in the event that you need to respond and recover to any attacks. So these are some of the services that Procom Technologies is offering to you. Some of them are services that you have always known us to offer to your organizations. However, some of them are new, and I would like just to touch on a few of them. The first one is penetration testing. So we have spoken to some of you concerning some of the penetration testing services. So Procom has been offering penetration testing and vulnerability assessments. So you can get in touch with us if you have those requirements. One of the services also that we are offering is called the autonomous pen test as a service. So as you know, most organizations, you will run penetration testing twice a year or once a year or quarterly. We have a service called autonomous penetration testing as a service. This is a penetration testing service that runs continuously on your network. So the advantage of that, obviously, is that you don't have to wait for your next pen test, scheduled pen test, but continuously you are running this penetration test and being able to observe any vulnerabilities that might be running in your network. And also, we are offering managed services. So we can now run and manage your security infrastructure, including your firewalls. So we can now offer that as a managed service, mobile security, endpoint security, email security, cloud, and managed user awareness. So importantly for most organizations, you want to make sure that your users that you have are actually informed and educated on cybersecurity risks. So we can offer a service as a managed user awareness service that you can offer to your users And to help you, obviously, in all these stages of identifying, protecting, detecting, responding, and recovering from risk, we are offering a 24/7 managed threat detection and response service through our SOC, which we're going to be talking about today. So just to answer the question, what is a security operations center? I've got here, it says a security operations center is a centralized and consolidated function within an organization comprising people equipped with the right technologies and supported by well-defined processes that continuously monitors and improves the organization's security posture to detect, investigate, prevent, and respond to cybersecurity threats. So I'm sure most organizations have an interest in running a SOC, or if you are not already running one, because you want to be able to offer a 24/7 monitoring of your cybersecurity infrastructure, and including other network and application assets that you might have. So what's critical is that there are three pillars of running a SOC, and these are people, process, and the technology. And what we have seen is that most organizations will invest in the technology. We have a number of customers that have invested in a SIM solution. Some have invested in NDR solutions and so on. And sometimes we are made to believe that by investing in these technologies, we are running a SOC. However, the three critical pillars of running a SOC, like I have said, are the people, process, and technology. And these must be implemented together. And having one of the other, unfortunately, will not deliver an effective SOC. And because for most organizations, putting together a SOC is quite a costly exercise, which costs a lot of customers a lot of money. You have those organizations that have invested in the technology, but however, they have not achieved the full value from that technology. And what we have done as Procom Technologies is that we have built a SOC. We have equipped it with the right technology, the right tools of running the SOC. Not only that, we have equipped it with the right people. We have equipped with the right analysts, level 1, level 2, level 3, threat hunters, and SOC managers. And above that, we have put in the processes that help to run that SOC. So what then now you as our client can do is to subscribe to a SOC service. So instead of putting together, trying to build a SOC of your own, which is going to cost a lot of money, which is going to require a lot of people to run the SOC and a lot of processes to put together, you can now subscribe to this service from Procom Technologies, and we'll be able to work and integrate with the systems that you already have in your environment and protect your organizations through against all the cyber threats that are so ever growing. Why do organizations require a SOC? What's critical about protecting your organization is being able to reduce the time to detect and to respond to threats. So we have invested a lot of in a lot of tools as organizations to protect our organization, to protect our ICT infrastructure. However, as we know, that does not mean we don't get breached. That does not mean that organizations get compromised. So what's critical is that in the event that you are being attacked, or you have been compromised, it is important to reduce the time to detect that attack or threat and to be able to respond quickly before any damage is done. In the event that an organization is breached, it is also important to minimize the impact of the breach to the organization. So you may identify that a breach has happened, and it is at that moment that your organization must be equipped to be able to contain the breach. One of the other critical factors also of running a SOC is that organizations are running a lot of tools in their environment. So we have got firewalls, intrusion prevention systems, network admission control. We have got identity access and privileged access management tools. We have gateways, routers, switches in your infrastructure. And the problem for most IT people, and including executives, is that we lack visibility of what is happening in the IT infrastructure. And with a SOC, the SOC allows you to have one pane of glass where all your systems, including applications, network, are integrated to the SOC platform. And from one pane of glass, you get full visibility of what is happening in your infrastructure. And the SOC technology that we are running, and together today we're going to be talking about one of the tools we run in our SOC, which is the IBM platform. It helps you to predict and stay ahead of threat hunters. And our technical expert will speak to that aspect. And also, lastly, it helps you to keep business informed of risks and shape future security roadmaps. So this is also very, very critical. So for you to make the decisions about what your organization is going to invest in, the tools that you're going to invest in, the technologies that you're going to invest in, you need the information. You need the historical information. You need the performance information. And you need to be able to see what kind of risks affect your organization and how you have dealt with previous threats and previous breaches. So from the SOC, you are able to get all this infrastructure. So it is important for any organization to, in this day and age, to be subscribed to a SOC service if you are not running your own SOC service. So as Procom, we're able to work with you, whether you want to build a SOC in your environment and have Procom assist you to run and manage the SOC, or you want to subscribe fully to a SOC service, we also able to offer you that technology and also that service. So at this stage, I would like to introduce Tawengwa Toronga, who's our group CTO, and he's gonna speak on a few slides, and then after that, we'll invite IBM to also do their presentation. Tawengwa.
Thank you, Reggie. And morning, everyone. Thank you all for joining the session. So like what Reggie has been mentioning, obviously every organization has a need on why they should be building a SOC. And there are a number of capabilities, which are the business drivers that organizations have when they're actually looking at building the security operations center. And these are some of the things that your CISOs actually require. The speed of detection and response. This is actually becoming more and more important to be able to detect, but not only to detect, but to respond to any threats or malicious activity in your environment in real time. So this is a key capability that a SOC has actually to deliver. That is a business driver for building a SOC or outsourcing a SOC. The second thing is about tool consolidation. We know that as organizations, we have actually invested in a lot of tool sets. And those tool sets, up to now, most of them have been siloed in nature, where obviously you have to move from one console to the other to actually determine what is, when you are actually investigating on your environment. So tool consolidation also becomes key to be able to have that 360-degree view from one console. Then the other important thing is about continuous monitoring. Unfortunately, the internet is 24/7. And as an organization, you can't afford to have your operations running 8x5. So you need to have that capability to have eyes on the glass 24/7. It has been actually found that, according to some reports, that to 30 to 40% of all the breaches actually happen after business hours. So it's important for organizations to make sure that they have these 24/7 security operations. The fourth thing is about detecting complex threats. Obviously, these are the threats that we are obviously seeing in most of the news headlines, where some of the biggest organizations with the biggest budgets have actually been compromised. Threat actors are actually evolving. They are also coming up with technologies that are actually assisting them in making sure that they actually are not detected so easily. Maggie, I think you moved maybe just go a little bit. Okay, thank you. So you need to have that capability to detect these complex threats. That some of the tool sets or technologies that you already have that are more prevention focused may not able to actually detect. The skills and expertise is one capability that is very key. And this is the most expensive undertaking when running a security operations center. You need to have that capability in terms of the skill sets that are actually required to run a SOC. Not only alert triaging, but looking at incident response, threat hunting, forensic investigation, malware reverse engineering, and then so forth. That's the expertise that is actually required to be able to run an efficient security operations center. For the business, visualizing the risk is actually very critical. With 360-degree visibility, then you are able to actually visualize the risk that could obviously impact the organization. Compliance is one of the most important things. We know obviously that all industries have compliance regulations and mandates that they need to comply with. We are also seeing governments coming with data protection acts and so forth, in which all organizations need to comply with. So your SOC should actually help you in meeting and reporting on that compliance. And the last thing is about cost certainty. IT has been known to be obviously a spender, and finance people obviously don't like IT people because they always come in with a request for further budgets and so forth. So cost certainty is very key when you are obviously going to run an efficient and effective SOC. Being able to know how much you are going to spend in any given month or in any given period. So outsourcing then becomes very key because you obviously pay a subscription, a fixed subscription in a particular month. So those are the capabilities that obviously are the drivers for the security operations center. So as Procom, obviously we offer SOC as a service, where as an organization, due to the limitations in terms of building your own security operations center, you can actually outsource the service from us. And like Begi said, there are three key components: the people, the processes, and the technology. So we bring all those three components in our security operations center. So in terms of our SOC workflow, this is where we build in all the processes, link it up with the technology, and how the people obviously are going to use those processes to be able to detect, investigate, respond to any malicious activity that has been picked up in our customer environments. So we have got three layers that govern our SOC. the technology layer. This is where all the technology that we bring in is interfaced. And as a customer, you also get your own portal where you are actually able to log in and see the dashboard of what is happening in your environment. And we're actually also able to integrate with some of the ticketing systems that we have, so that in terms of our SLAs, we can actually monitor in terms of those metrics that we are meeting the key SLAs that we have agreed in our contracts. So we then interface and integrate with all the data sources. So the data sources are all the technologies, the applications, the security tools that you already have, whether those are running on-prem, in the cloud, across all the attack surfaces. Then we have got the operations layer. This is where it's very critical. Most organizations invest just in a technology, and then they find out later that there is quite a lot that is actually required in terms of running that particular technology. Yes, things have been simplified. Obviously, there is lots of automation that has been brought in by machine learning and artificial intelligence, but you still need the people aspect in terms of threat monitoring, triaging, advanced the threat response, incident response management, and so forth, threat hunting, and all those kind of things. So you still need the people. Some of these things can be automated, but some of them, obviously, they still need a human element. Then the governance layer is obviously what defines how we deliver this service to you as our customer in terms of the service level management, the customer intelligence reviews and briefings, the escalations and SOC governance and so forth. And also what is more important is about reporting, getting those reports that you can then share with your business leaders and other stakeholders in terms of how we are doing in terms of improving the resilience of your organization. Next slide, Big. Okay, so how do you then deliver this service? How do we integrate? So the most important thing is obviously for us to interface with your tool sets, your applications across all the attack surfaces. Like I said, whether be it on the network, on the cloud, on your endpoints, on your mobile devices, and other applications that obviously you're running, like your SaaS applications. So we also have got built-in native XDR components. These are technologies, obviously, that you enjoy as part of the service offering. Things like your network detection and response, which is very critical, especially looking at the east-west and north-south traffic within your environment to detect some of these complex threats that I talked about, like your lateral movements, privilege, escalations, and so forth. So it gives you then that 360-degree visibility. Deception, obviously, which is obviously becoming an adoption in many SOC environments, where you obviously need to predict and understand the threat behavior. Entity user behavior analysis. It's very important to baseline what is normal in your environment, so that when you obviously some abnormal activity is seen, then that can be surfaced in the SOC for analysts to further investigate whether that was expected behavior. Then we obviously integrate with by putting some sensors, some connectors, and obviously the platform also has got some built-in threat intelligence that is actually fed. So we interface with all your security tools, your applications, your identity systems, vulnerability management, your firewalls, your endpoint detection and response solutions, and so forth. So we collect all that data, we ingest it, we normalize it, we enrich it, and store it in that data lake. And then the platform is actually able now to do the detection and the correlation using some machine learning and artificial intelligence. There is also some automated threat hunting playbooks that obviously can be defined and so forth. At the end of the day, what we all get for analysts is really alerts and incidents that are high fidelity in nature that our SOC analysts can then obviously look at in terms of investigation, and then respond if they need to respond to those incidents or alerts that have been picked up. So basically, this is how we deliver our SOCaaS Security Operations Center. Over to you, Ben.
Thank you so much, Tawengwa. Thank you, everyone. If you have got any questions, please feel free to type them on the chat window, and we will attend to them, hopefully at the end. Thank you. At this stage, I'm going to ask Mr. Mahama, who is a senior technology specialist with IBM. So we are using IBM XDR platform as one of the tools that we have in our SOC. And Mr. Mahama is going to give us an overview of what the IBM QRadar XDR platform does. Mr. Mahama, thank you so much, sir.
All right, no problems. Good morning to everybody. So I've been in the cybersecurity world ever since 2004. So it's been my bread and butter. So about 18 years in cybersecurity. Currently, yes, as Becky mentioned, technical specialist in the threat management space within IBM. I think for the interest of time, I'm just going to go at a high level. I know that Becky's going to plan to have more sessions where we'll actually have deep dives. But I think what Becky already positioned in terms of the Procom SOC offering center as well, I think for us from an IBM perspective, it's actually a partnership that is fully aligned, right? So you'll see some of the areas that I will present will still, we'll still talk to that, right? But I'll try to leave time at the end for any of the questions that you have, right? The bottom line is, and it's been mentioned, right? Security teams are actually inundated, right? We've got a whole lot of insights that we're dealing with, right? But so security teams cannot keep up, which is the reason why organizations that have previously tried to, even large organizations that have previously tried to have their own in-house security operation centers have at some point really failed to give up, right? So maybe they've trained up their guys to a certain point and then they were absorbed. There's the whole lot of turnover, suffer attrition, right? So there's a study that was done whereby by 451 Research that actually then came to the conclusion that all of those surveyed companies, they mentioned that up to 48% of their daily security events or alerts actually cannot be actioned, right? It's just too much for humans to keep up with, right? To add to that, you're dealing with some of the business drivers that Big also mentioned. There's digital transformation, there's the whole journey to cloud. There's a whole lot of slew of regulations and privacy demands that, companies have to deal with, right? There's a post-COVID, right? After COVID, there's a whole thing about increased remote workforce, right? Whereby the parameters, it has actually disappeared, right? You're dealing with risks that are, your employees that are actually facing risk wherever they are, right? If they get compromised, they actually bring those compromises into the organization, right? And we'll talk more about some of the evolving threats that really we cannot keep up with, right? And from a security operations center perspective, we're dealing with some of the challenges, right? From lack of visibility, right? You might not have all of the data sources that are integrated, right? The tools are actually very disparate tools, not necessarily connected. You might have 9 different security solutions from different security vendors, right? That you have to develop skills around, and actually it actually most of the time does not happen that those tools are fully integrated, whereby your analyst effort is actually then reduced, right? Skills is a problem across the board, right? We know that. There's a survey that was done that actually said that 43% of those people that were surveyed in a new study that said, what skills do you actually think there's a big gap in, right? And cybersecurity came out and as one that actually trumped even your cloud specific skills, right? So cybersecurity is a top area, it's a focus area for all of the customers, right? So what are some of those evolving threats, right? In a nutshell, ransomware is a big bugbear for us, right? There's a cost of data breach study that was done. It's an independent study done by the Ponemon Institute, right, published by IBM. So in all of the companies that were studied, right, where there have been attacks, I mean, there's been since 2021, there's been an increase in ransomware attacks, right? This is highly monetized, right? It's commercial. You've got people that are really gaining a lot from ransomware. So ransomware attacks are actually on the rise, right? You've got companies that really suffer, right? So I mean, on average, you're talking about 4.65 or 4.35 million dollars that companies actually have to spend following a massive breach, right? So that actually talks to the bottom line. And in terms of the industries that are affected, manufacturing obviously came out tops. I mean, for South Africa, it's different. It differs for each country. It might be the financial sector in our case, but manufacturing actually had a lot of attacks, and it was around, because they could not actually then tolerate downtime, right? They were actually then faced with a lot of attacks. So we're dealing with an ever evolving threat landscape, right? So from our side, from an IBM side, how do we actually then view, what's part of a SOC, right? Obviously, people, process, and technology. But from a technology perspective, we're looking at three major elements, right, which we call the SOC triad. We're looking at your security analytics, which is your SIM, layered with user behavior analytics, so that we actually get to see what users, insiders get up to. Do you have compromised insiders, or do you have at-risk insiders, right? And then you look at your network detection and response. This is very key, because you're looking at anything that goes in and out of the network, right? This is where you are now going to pick up conversations. Who's communicating with who, for how long, what type of applications, right? You can actually get into a deep layer to ask what sort of data is actually leaving my environment. Is this PII data? Is this financial data that's leaving my environment? So you get into another realm of being able to then leverage this for your threat management capabilities. And then you've got, obviously, on the other end is EDR, right? Where you're now saying, okay, now let's have some sort of extended response across the board, right? At a network level, if we see attacks, we don't have to simply alert. There has to be some sort of integrations to say there's a ransomware attack or there's a security breach. We've stopped it in its track because before there was impact. The same for an endpoint, which obviously with this remote workforce, it's actually something that's going to be more attacked, right? So from a typical view, right, what we power in the Procom SOC with is actually a simplified way, simplified tools that are actually talking to one another, right? That are enabling your analysts to then get to investigating some of the security breaches and alerts in a quicker, at a quicker rate, right? As opposed to how we were doing it before, right? So, for example, a normal organization, you actually have different security tools that different analysts would actually need to look at, right? There's an incident that happens. Possibly this is the alert is sent to your EDR or your SIM platform. But from there on, you find that, oh, okay, because the network, I mean, all of your attacks have to go to the network. We need to go to some sort of NDR technology. So there's a pivot to another solution outside of the SIM. There's another pivot to maybe a cloud instance where maybe this breach might have also happened, right? So you're looking at time wasted, different integrations, different pivoting into different solutions. And given the skills and the capacity shortages, your analysts are not able to get to what they need to get to, right? On the other end, where we say now with the solution that we're providing, we actually say we're going to look at the tools that we have, right? Obviously, then the SOC will be powered by specific tools around the SIM and SOC, but it will integrate with your other security tools, right? We looking at a single pane of glass where analysts actually work on one single pane of glass where your use cases are there. So in terms of incident orchestration happens from that one instance, right? So we get an instance, we are able to do threat hunting from that platform, right? Which then in the end actually saves your analyst time, right? And how does that translate to you as a customer? It means that you are able to get more value from the SOC service because you have analysts that are deploying a whole lot of things, but them saving time, employing things such as leveraging things such as AI, they're able to get to giving insights about what is actually happening, right? You are able to then stop those attacks as quickly as you are alerted, right? So our solution itself, right? So it's purely based on open standards, right? So we have what we call your different tools that we interconnect with. But think of it as an analogy of a soccer team, right? A soccer team, there's a bunch of players. So you might have an EDR, last line of defense, maybe your goalkeepers and the likes. But this team is actually working together, right, to stop the other team from scoring, right? In this case, we are fighting against threats that we're seeing, right? So your XDR platform, this single pane of glass becomes then your captain, right? It's single source that actually helps interconnects everything, right? Tells all of the security solutions, including your SIM and whatever, to actually then work together in a coordinated fashion, right? So our whole XDR stack is based on that, right? Open platform, we can connect to any open solution. It's not necessarily based on IBM only, right? You might have instances where you've already invested in some sort of data lake. We are able to bring it, or even some sort of EDR, we are able to actually then plug in those insights using open standards. We are able to then, when we do our incident response, we are able to then reuse that connection and then say, oh, we already know what's going on here. If there's a new emerging threat, we are going to automatically proactively search and say, oh, there's a new threat that is targeting organizations across maybe Southern Africa, right? These are the industries that are affected. We're going to really do a proactive scanning of the environment to say, oh, out of my connected data sources, have I seen this threat? And if I've seen that kind of threat, then it means that you have an active threat in your environment. What are we going to do then? We're going to then look at how we respond from an incident perspective, right? So you'll see everything is done from one central perspective, right? So at the back of that, we have open standards as well, right? So what allows us to do this is we are the co-founder of what we call the Open Cybersecurity Alliance, basically an alliance of vendors that came together and said, you know what, we actually want to make it easy for our customers that are using our security tools to get insights without ripping and replacing all over the show, right? Customers might have already gone down a certain journey in terms of investing. How about we give those insights, we actually connect it together? So this platform is about making you leverage what you already have, but actually making it easy for your team and you as a customer then to get to responding to this threat that you see, right? So you are able to look at a broader organizational-wide view of insights, right? Threats, insights. You are able to have your SOAR platform or incident response then integrate with any of those data sources that you've connected, right? But because you are then employing things such as analytics and AI, you are able to also then look at how do we get to insights, right? So how do we reduce those mean time to detect or mean time to respond to a couple of minutes or a couple of hours instead of, for example, the reported 277 plus days that's done by the research, right? So as part of that, you have one of the major solution blocks there is our curator SIM. Security analytics, basically what it does, it allows you to then have visibility across the board, right? So what we look almost like layers that we look at complete visibility. Let's give you complete visibility across the board, right? Whether you're talking about a cloud-based instance that you like to have visibility, or some sort of virtualized infrastructure, or a database with critical data, right? Or even leveraging your normal security data sources, right? We actually funnel all of those data points into a very correlated, highly chained set of incidents or events that your analyst can then say, oh, we've seen an attack for a particular critical system. It started as a port scan. It went on to maybe exploit a particular vulnerability on server X. From there on, there was an internal connection, lateral movement to a critical database, which resulted in exfiltration of data, right? So Curator is actually then able to help analysts map all that all together into one super incident, as opposed to saying you're looking at 3 disjointed or 4 disjointed incidents. Curator will actually then lump it together and say, okay, out of all the huge amount of data that you've received, this is actually what we're reducing this down to, right? So Curator has been a leader in the Gartner Magic Quadrant for about 12 years now, consecutively, right? So it actually is testament, right? We've got MSSPs, partners across the world using it, right? Curator, and they're very happy. the one good thing about Curator as well is the analytics that you get out of the box, right? And we'll talk about that. But it's the quick time to value. Once we onboard your security data sources, we don't need to do a whole lot of manual things, right? Your use cases are out of the box. Your analytics, you get those out of the box, right? You can leverage AI, threat intelligence feeds. We can ingest, enrich the information with the asset data that you already have, which is automated as well. But we're looking at a couple of key use cases, right? From insider threats, we monitor your users employing machine learning as well, right? To say, what are your users getting up to? Is somebody logging onto a critical server outside of normal hours from 2 different geographies at one point within a very short space of time? What about your external threats? Are we getting maybe connections from some sort of command and control servers or vice versa? What about your cloud risks? So we actually have very mature use cases around this, right? And then the analytics that sits on top of your SIM platform, right? So we have a whole lot of that, right? But I can zone in on just Curator on its own. Originally, it's a network behavior and anomaly detection solution, right? Before it became a SIM solution. So meaning that we are able to detect anomalies on the network to say, oh, are you getting more traffic on your firewall that you usually get? Is that maybe perhaps an early indicator of a denial of service or a breach that is currently happening? Or on the other end, we have a focused view of users, right? Users, your insiders are where most of the attacks would be. It could be that a user has clicked on a phishing email, or a user has been coerced by a syndicate to come into your environment, do 1, 2, 3, or it's just a user, a disgruntled employee who's trying to maybe do damage to your environment. So we monitor users, right? We actually monitor users against a set of rules to say perhaps the user is executing a privilege that they've not executed before, or automatically we map users according to their peers using machine learning to say user X. I'll use an example of a teller. Teller X is part of a teller group. A curator would automatically also say that to a peer group, but one of the tellers is actually doing actions that is outside of what the other tellers are doing. So we're able to actually then look at deviations at an individual user based perspective, but also at a group level, right? So we've got that on the user behavior side. It's part and parcel of the solution. And then we've got network traffic analytics, which looks at the traffic that is going in and outside of your network, right? We're looking at your complex attacks. We're looking at your zero-day attacks, some of the lateral movement, some of the things that you'd normally not see in your normal security events. We're trying to look at that system that communicates every 24 hours and sends a message to a command and control server out there. This environment, this solution will also learn your network patterns and what is considered normal, and then flag out some of those outliers so that you are able to detect this in a very fast pace in the early stages, right? So that's that we're able to then go into detail, detect stealthy threats, but we can extend it and then say, like I said, if I have personal information leaving my environment or information that I've marked as confidential or highly sensitive or internal use only, you'd be able to see that, right? If you now start deploying this network detection and response, okay? Right, and then on the last part of this is then your SOAR platform, right? So after we discover all of this, right? After we detect, I mean, this follows the NIST incident life cycle, whereby we come from all the way into we've detected, we've investigated. Now we're going to go through response recovery, right? What we really want to do is we want to empower security teams and organizations to actually say, we're going to respond as quickly as possible, right? Have as much as automation as possible, so that if there's a ransomware attack, you don't want Procom alerting you at midnight to say we've detected a ransomware attack in your environment. You actually want them to say during the onboarding we've integrated with your solutions, right? We know that if we've defined from an incident response and orchestration perspective, we've defined very mature playbooks that will actually help in the event of threats, right? So for example, they detect, an analyst detects a ransomware in the early stages at midnight. Yes, you want to get that call, immediate call or whatever escalation, but you also want to have a sense of comfort that, you know, this solution can actually then kickstart some sort of playbook, right? A response playbook to say, let's go to that firewall, let's go automatically add a rule to block that malicious IP address from connecting. Let's go into the compromise on the network. Let's quickly isolate that user that is that workstation that has been compromised, so that the damage does not get worse. Let's go perhaps and terminate that ransomware executable that is trying to run and infect your environment. So from that perspective, we've got again, we're talking about this that I've talked about is available from a single pane of glass, right? We are able to leverage threat intelligence, right? It's available from a single pane of glass. We are able to do threat hunting from a single pane of glass. We're able to leverage still artificial intelligence to say, instead of having the analyst manually investigating the incidents that are coming on board, let's actually then employ AI to say, within a series of 5 minutes, right? Please give me a view. Yes, there's an incident that was raised from SIM or whatever solution. Please give me a definite view of what I'm dealing with here, so that they can actually, with confidence, be able to then inform you to say that you have this particular threat active in your environment. These are your threat actors. This is the scale of the problem. You have 50 other systems that are affected in the same way, so that you are able to then respond faster. But these playbooks, right? We've got playbooks that will leverage all of the threat intelligence and the likes, but out of the box content as well, right? So we've got playbooks that are easy to design, that can actually then have community-based integrations, right? We have what we call a security app exchange, where the Procom team will be able to then look at what sort of systems you have internally, right? What sort of integrations can be then made from a SIM and a SOC perspective? It might be that you want to integrate with your Active Directory servers to say that in the event of a user breach, please go in and update or disable a particular use. So we've got all of those integrations that are there out of the box. We've got the ability to then have this content that you can then customize, can be customizable for your own environment, right? The end result is that deploying this SOAR platform would then result in a faster response, right? That's what you want. You want to cut down the mean time to respond KPI, right? You want to make sure that once you get an incident that is detected, you want to make sure that you respond as quickly as possible, right? So that happens over time, obviously, with engagement between you and Procom and IBM around what exactly your response processes for different threats would look like. Maybe it might be a ransomware. How do you want to respond to ransomware in addition to what Procom would have already defined in their workflows? So I think that would be that at a very high level. Considering the time, Becky, let me yield back over to you and maybe take some questions that might be already posted in the chat, and also obviously there's an opportunity to go through a full-on demo and walkthrough of the system that we're actually talking about, taking you through a use case from a SIM platform, how we actually deal with it, all the way to response and recovery and automated response. Becky, let me hand over to you for the interest of time.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mahama, for that insightful presentation. I know it's quite very brief and a high level. However, as we said, this is a start of a series of presentations that we will have engaging with you, our valued clients. And the adoption of SOC as a service, or 24/7 managed threat detection and response service, is a journey. It has to begin somewhere. And we are here together with our partner, vendor partner IBM, to actually guide you. So this should just be a start of that conversation that we should have. So we're looking forward to setting one-to-one engagements between ourselves and IBM, and also yourselves and your executives. We are there to help you build the business case that you need, and to make sure that you can adopt these technologies and services to give you the peace of mind. So quickly, I want to say why should you subscribe to this SOC service? I believe you have seen in terms of IBM technology, it's actually the best in the market that is out there. And over and above the technology, like we said, you need the people, you need the processes. And now you are able to be subscribed to a SOC service with Procom. We also offer this in a hybrid setup whereby we can have the SOC running in your environment, being managed by our SOC analyst and also your analyst that you can also develop within your organization. So it is a best-in-class incident response without long deployment periods. So sometimes to build your own SOC can take you up to 6 months to get all the systems up and running. But working with us, this could be done in a much shorter time. You can achieve faster detection and remediation of threats, as has been said, improved security visibility and reporting through 24/7. You need 24/7 eyes on the glass. And also the other important aspect is that with the predictability of course, this is an OPEX model. So which means you pay as you go, you pay as you use. And after 12 months, if you don't like our technology, you don't like our service, you can move on or stop the subscription. We wouldn't like to see that happening, and I'm sure that won't happen. However, organizations have spent just to put together a simple platform, $500,000 plus. But now you can actually subscribe to this service at very minimal and affordable costs, and which you can also run from your OPEX budget. You can significantly reduce information security risk and enhance boardroom and investor confidence. So with the reporting that you get from our SOC and our platforms that we are running, you are able to generate reports that you can now present to your management, to your board, and which are verifiable and which are also compliant to certain standards like PCI DSS, ISO standards, and so on and so on. So you are able to produce a verifiable report that you can present. As we said, also skills is quite huge. You train people, and before you know it, they've moved on. So by subscribing to this service, you have access to expertly trained analysts without having to employ them in-house in your organization. And lastly, one of the thing that keeps coming up when we engage with our clients is about the issue of data residency. So because all our clients are all over in Africa, Zimbabwe, Zambia, Botswana, there's always the issue to say we have data privacy laws that say we must keep our data. And because we have been in those territories, in country, for many years, we understand these pressures. And we are able, hence, to deploy the system either within your premises or in a data center in country, so that all your data is kept in country. So there is no data that leaves the country. There is no data that where you prefer that leaves your premises. And only our analysts are looking to analyze the data while it's sitting within your environment. Having said that, we can also offer this as a SaaS, which means you can subscribe from the Procom Cloud. So this is the flexibility that we bring with the deployment models. I don't know if so. These are some of the reasons why you should consider. And as I've said, we're looking forward to having one-to-one. So if your organization would like us to have a discussion, please, I'm available, the team is available to have that discussion with you. Let's go on this journey together, and our main interest is that you get it right from the first time. so that there are no cycles of failure or investing in the wrong technology. So we'll be there to consult for you as Procom, and also bringing in our partner IBM. Mr. Mahama is readily available. Going forward, we're going to have more series on this, and we're going to schedule another session. And on this session, as Mr. Mahama has said, we'll go through a demo. We'll show you how the platform works. We'll simulate a ransomware attack, and we'll show you how you can, this technology and our services will be able to protect your organization against a ransomware attack. If you have would like to engage further, please send an email to security@procom.cloud, and also our email addresses that we always communicating on. At this stage, I don't know if there is any question or any addition from the presenters. So, like I said, it's quite high level at this stage, but I hope you have actually seen how advanced these technologies and how advanced the system is. One question here says, is the slide available after the meeting? Definitely. The slides and also the recording of the presentation itself is available. So if you need to share it with other colleagues in your organization, we will send you a link, and you can share with your other colleagues, and they'll be able to view the recording. The other question is that is it possible to view the SOC premises? Definitely. So we currently running 2 SOC rooms, one in Johannesburg and one in Harare, Zimbabwe. So like I've said, the SOC rooms are where the analysts are sitting and doing the analytic work. However, all the data actually sits in country, depending whether you're in Zimbabwe, Zambia, or Botswana. But yes, we'll be happy to host you. If you are in Zambia, Botswana, South Africa, we'll be happy to host you in Johannesburg. We can organize that trip for you, and you come and see the SOC room. However, like I've said, we still your data is still protected regardless of where it's resident. And for those in Zimbabwe, our SOC room is also available in Harare. Thank you so much. Those were the 2 questions. So this is the start of a conversation. Let's continue to engage. Thank you so much for your time. This actually had over 65 people at organizations represented in all the 3-4 countries, which is quite a huge turnout, and it just shows the importance of the cybersecurity to your organization. And as Procom, as always, we are there to assist you on this journey. I will end the webinar at this stage, but let's continue to converse. And also, we opened a trial for our clients. So if your organization would like to run a trial or a proof of value, please let us know. We engage, and we have already onboarded a number of organizations on the trial, just to, again, to demonstrate how important and the huge interest in making sure running a SOC, or at least subscribing to a SOC as a service, so that you are 24/7 managed, monitored by the right organization. Thank you so much. I really appreciate your time. I will end the webinar here. Thank you, Mr. Mahama. Thank you, Mr. Toronga, for the presentation.
Yeah, thank you, everyone, for joining.
Thank you.